Today we're going to be looking at the role of the lawyer in document production, how they work with documents, and the changes in technology that both trigger and support the evolving workflows. So to start off with, we're going to introduce ourselves. So look at those lovely faces there. Matt, do you want to start off first with introductions?
Sure, thanks, Ange. So I'm Matt Miller, one of the co-presenters today on the product management team with Ange, helping to oversee some of our create as well as clean up applications here at Litera Microsystems.
Hi, and I'm Angela Crossland. As you can tell, I'm from our UK office, and I've been working with Litera Microsystems for the past 5 years, mostly as a consultant configuring software, but more recently in the product management team, and one of my areas of responsibility is DocX Tools and DocX Tools Companion. So a little bit of housekeeping first of all. We'll try and keep to the time as best we can. So we're going to set some time at the end for any questions. We do love to hear your feedback, so do keep anything coming, any queries you've got coming to us. They can be put into the chat window and we can respond to them at the end of the session. Okay. So a little bit more about what we're going to cover today. So we're going to look at the challenges faced by legal professionals when producing documents. So our lawyers and attorneys, they don't want to spend a huge amount of time on the documents. They want to be able to work efficiently. They don't want to have to spend a lot of time learning skills to work with the documents. And the document life cycles, they're constantly evolving and changing as technology changes. So how technology adoption in everyday life influences the legal environment is a major consideration in terms of people's familiarity and comfort levels with technology will impact how they want to work on a day-to-day basis. We're going to look at a little bit about the history of DocX Tools and DocX Tools Companion, the evolution of the market and how we work with documents within technology and within the law firms. And we'll have a demonstration of DocX Tools and DocX Tools Companion, an overview of the products, and talk a little bit about our plans for the future. So Matt, the evolution of the market needs, where did it all start? How did it begin?
Sure. So thanks, Ange. One thing we wanted to talk about today was, as you point out, kind of how the business problems that kind of have persisted throughout decades and decades of time. So the webinar itself is titled "The Lawyer as a Word Processor." So not only do we want to talk about the problems that our technology solutions are helping to solve, but also the user, the persona of the user evolving along with the technology and business problems that are evolving. And if we go back to, I would say, 97 to 2004, we at then Microsystems, Legacy Microsystems, now Litera Microsystems, were largely focusing on the business problem that was moving to a new document processing solution. So moving from WordPerfect to Word was largely the business problem in the market at the time. The user was more of a power user of those applications. They understood the fine points and the multifaceted capabilities of those applications. Largely our solution at the time, DocXchange, was helping solve the business problem that was converting documents from WordPerfect to Word. What came out of that, and what you can speak to hopefully a little bit, Ange, is after we converted these documents from WordPerfect to Word, what we needed was, and what really the business problem we were hearing from the community was, now I've got this document, now I need to be able to maintain this .doc Microsoft Word file, make sure that it remains clean as it continues on its life cycle now as a Microsoft Word product. So can you talk to us kind of about the next evolution of that particular problem and some of the challenges faces, as well as some of the evolution of the product within this timeframe? Of course I can,
Matt. Yeah, and actually this is pretty much where I really stepped into working with documents myself, joining the legal industry and carrying out document support for law firms. So at that time, the 2000s is really where documents were maybe their worst in terms of stability. And DocX tools answered a need because Word was getting more sophisticated. As Word gets more complex, there are different issues that are raised up, and people have to keep on with that and working with the documents. So the new file format that came in, we went from .doc to DocX. Every time we upgrade Word to a new version, there are new challenges that come with that. So it was DocX Tools' heyday really at this point, providing solutions for those document instabilities, putting into place things like the document check and quick clean, which would allow people to stabilize their documents where it was having problems, but also the other functionality that's going to create document efficiencies as well. So having the conversion tools to enable us to be able to take .doc formats and then upgrade them to .docx formats and address any numbering issues at the time, maintaining that document fidelity as we were going. So we did find when you're converting documents from .doc to .docx, this is when numbering problems would actually present themselves, underlying issues would come to the fore. So providing tools that were going to help with that.
Yeah, so I think you bring up a couple good points there. One would be, as we kind of have the flag in the sand there for our DocX Tools heyday, which is, a lot of people were moving now from Microsoft Word 2003 to 2007, 2010, and later versions of Office. The document problems seem to be at its absolute peak. If we look at our support numbers at that point in time, they were kind of peaking at an all-time high for cleanup needs. You alluded to numbering issues being kind of a rampant issue, and I know we helped Microsoft uncover at that point in time what we coined as cross-linked numbering, where for those who don't know, is basically two list templates associated to a single style, and helping to not only diagnose those problems but fix those problems where possible, so numbering didn't fall off the document. And then, and as you mentioned, the conversion capabilities were almost back to our WordPerfect to Word days there. We have not as bad, I would say, not a platform change or a platform change from usability standpoint, but a pretty significant change in terms of file capabilities for the actual document container itself. And there was a lot of folks that needed to upgrade or wanted to be able to have confidence that when the file extensions changed, the fidelity of the document was maintained, and that was kind of the big focus
Absolutely.
in the legal market at that time.
And you also had going from Office 2002 and 2003, moving on to 2007, 2010, that user interface that changed from the toolbar to the ribbon. So actually presenting functionality in places where people can find it easily, navigating around within Word itself became, another shift took place there.
Sure, absolutely. So as kind of our Microsoft products became more mature and we saw more people evolving or adopting a DOCX file extension, what were kind of some of the new challenges or user personas that we saw changing at that point?
Okay, so actually the way people work's changed. People's familiarity and comfort levels with technology has been evolving. And the roles that take place within firms. So no longer do you have that traditional secretary-lawyer relationship. You may have a group of people doing secretarial or PA support for different lawyers. It might not be one person to one person relationship anymore, and people are expected to be more self-sufficient because they haven't got that support available. So looking at what those needs were and how to address them, and speaking with firms, we're finding out that more and more attorneys, more and more lawyers want to fix their own document issues. So at this point, we started to think about how we can support that, and we started doing some research and development for what became DocX Tools Companion. So this is looking at the main issues that people were dealing with, and predominantly the surrounding the numbering. So the numbering of your documents, whether it be something that's predefined for a particular firm with their branding, or whether you're picking up a document which you're not familiar with the layouts and how it works and how it's been set up, and you still have to be able to create a sensible document which the numbering is going to work through, and it's going to be something that you can work with and be stable to use. So this is where DocX Tools Companion, with its one-click solutions, so we can click on a button and it's going to fix the numbering instabilities for us.
Yep.
So that's where we released DocX Tools Companion in 2016.
Yeah. So and dovetailing on kind of what you're saying there, Ange, what we were hearing, we did quite a bit of research and development at that point in time. We could see as the industry, the legal industry, was changing from who made up the large percentage of the workforce. So it was a millennial generation that was kind of coming into play, even tipping the scales in terms of over 50% of them being in the workforce there in early 2017. So we knew that was coming, and so we did that development or R&D work in 2015 to 2016. And this kind of goes back to the title of today's webinar, Lawyers as Word Processors. We knew we had a younger generation of folks from talking with all our client base or customer base that they wanted to do some of their own work. However, these are expensive resources, so we needed to build something that was powerful enough for the proficient Microsoft experts, but also that was simple enough to use for the younger generation who might want to be more efficient and take off some of these capabilities on the, bite off some of these capabilities on their own. So yeah, out of that came DocX Tools Companion. The three primary things that continued to come up from the common repeatable things that people were still dealing with from a document problem perspective were numbering, cross-references, and TOC, and that's kind of was the cornerstone for DocX Tools Companion.
Exactly.
And a simple solution for simple but powerful solution for this kind of evolving user base we saw in the market. So if we move on from there, just talking about technology in law firms, and obviously there's quite a bit publicized today about technology and use of it in law firms to drive efficiency. So this is just two stats from a 2018 Aderant Business of Law and Legal Technology survey. And the question was, what will have the greatest potential to drive efficiency from a technology perspective? And the top two responses are automating routine tasks and workflow automation. And that's largely where Litera Microsystems' portfolio of products operate. We're operating in automating routine tasks that take a lot of time, as well as workflow automation. And as we kind of move some of our products into an AI type model, this is what we're looking at: augmenting business professionals to help them more quickly do routine tasks or automate workflows. The importance of working with problematic documents, as we saw from even back in as early as the late 90s, that problem in the marketplace still exists. Dealing with problematic documents hasn't changed. It's more who works on the documents from a traditional fashion is what's changed, is what we saw towards the end of our timeline there, a more millennial generation wanting to get a little bit more involved. So from the question of should lawyers be word processors, I think to a point. We know there's a lot of technology being placed on the desktops these days, and we want all users at our law firms to be proficient in technology, but to a point. Obviously, it takes even a very technically adept person quite a bit of time to master an application. And so this is where what we mean by to a point. We wouldn't want probably our partners or practice heads understanding complex multi-level list numbering and to that level, but we do want them to be comfortable in Microsoft Word, understanding the general framework of numbering in a document and the importance of it for overall things like tables of contents and cross-referencing. So what we wanted to do is, and as you can help set this up, is kind of look at two scenarios for DocX Tools and DocX Tools Companion that help with automating routine tasks as well as workflow automation.
Agreed, because numbering is arguably one of the most complex areas of the document, and we want to provide solutions that are going to be addressing the different issues and complement each other. So this is how docx tools and docx tools companion work. So if you've got a document where the numbering is present, it looks as it should do. We don't want to change the formatting overall of a document, but the numbering isn't stable and it's problematic. We want a solution which is going to be easy to use and it's going to stabilize the document and allow you to continue working on it. And that's really where docx tools companion comes into its own. If you've, on the other hand, got a document which it might not have numbering set up in the document, or you want it to look differently, you want it to adopt the firm's branding, for example, then you might want to use docx tools core product, where you've got those tools to import styles and apply the styles throughout the document, and you get an extra level of control there. So because it's more sophisticated, there's more functionality there are more options to go with. So you have more control and you can make choices along the way as to what formatting should be applied to which paragraph and therefore what numbering is being used. So they will both address numbering issues in the document, but the workflow and the scenarios where you might want to use them do differ and they complement each other. So in terms of working on documents, no one wants to be an expert in everything, and we want to provide intuitive tools to facilitate people to support themselves. So if we have somebody who wants to resolve standard numbering issues, the common things that we come across, stabilize that document so they can work on it, that's docx tools companion. If we wanted to, say, rebrand a document and swap out the numbering so it has a different look and feel, then we have docx tools, which can be, it's more configurable and it can support more complex scenarios as well. So Matt, I believe you're going to provide us with a brief demonstration on those.
Yeah, so we'll take a quick demonstration. You're kind of talking to the points that we saw from the Aderant survey, both looking at automating routine tasks as well as workflow automation, and speaking to this specific scenario which you set up, Ange, which is numbering. So if I escape out of my PowerPoint deck here, and we'll just open a Microsoft Word document I've got on my desktop here. So from a workflow automation, we'll start there and then kind of go into automating routine tasks. And this, again, we want our users to be proficient and aware of technology, but to a point. So we need flexible solutions. This is the basis for docx tools and docx tools companion. It needs to be both simple to use as technology needs and user personas advance within the life or legal sector, but we also need them to be powerful enough to continue to handle these complex documents and problem documents that we can have continued to see time and time again. And my Office 365 is taking a moment to launch here, so hopefully that will come up here in a second.
I think your computer's got stage fright. It knows. It knows it's being watched.
Well, this is we are piloting, I should say, some of the latest click-to-run stuff from Microsoft, and sometimes the Office 365 being on the latest and greatest click-to-run capabilities do have their challenges. Let's see if I can end the task, and if I have better luck, just starting Word fresh. So just while hopefully Microsoft loads more quickly here, see, there you go.
Yeah.
So the benefit, obviously, of 365 Click-to-Run is I have all the latest and greatest at all the time, and Microsoft is constantly pushing updates. But sometimes, it connecting to remote areas and updating is a bit sluggish. Not all the time. Overall, I do appreciate it. All right, so then back to the demonstration here. So I'll open a document. Now that Word is launched, it should happen much more quickly. There it goes. All right. So from a workflow automation, we know attorneys at all levels are reviewing their product. When that document leaves, they want to make sure that those common, easy to spot things are caught, or the complex things are caught. So I'm going to pair the numbering real quick with our proofreading solution, Contract Companion. And so this is a typical workflow automation that we see law firms taking advantage of. So what we were able to do is quickly analyze the file. I'm most concerned with numbering issues. So sometimes it's, again, I expect my lawyers to be aware of numbering and the importance of numbering and be proficient in Microsoft Word, but to a point. So here we're augmenting that particular user's proficiency level with some alerts to numbering, whereas my Microsoft Word expert would just be able to look at this document and say, I see numbering problems, I know I need to surgically fix them. So we can see the application pointing out very quickly, automating the finding of numbering issues within the document. And then here's DocX Tools Companion with its 3 primary functions, all single button click. And all I need to do as a lawyer is know I have numbering problems and know that if I click the numbers button, it will resolve any numbering issue in my document for me. So behind the scenes, it's doing a very complex series of things along the lines of figuring out what of the multi-level list numbering schemes I should apply to what levels, and it's figuring that all out, where I wouldn't expect necessarily my attorney to fully understand that's something my power secretaries, word processing folks would be able to handle. Now, from a routine task perspective, let's say I need to, now that the numbering is healthy, Contract Companion is no longer telling me there are numbering issues. It's giving me a green light here within my task pane. I might need to swap the scheme or import a scheme or modify levels of the numbering scheme. And obviously that level of surgical detail isn't possible with DocX Tools Companion. It really suits a different user persona at that particular point. So if I pop over to my word processing help desk tab, that's where I have capabilities with either DocX Tools style application, or if you have the one of our numbering module capabilities, you'd have the ability to swap things out. I'll quickly run style application here. And what we'll be able to see is the routine task of having to not only import a numbering scheme, but more so the having to paragraph by paragraph swap out a different level of numbering for a group of non-contiguous numbered paragraphs takes a lot of time, where style application can do that very quickly for me. So in this example, I'll actually just go to my level 2s in this one. And if I go to my level 2 paragraphs here, I can see there are 13 paragraphs all in non-contiguous order that now maybe my attorneys asked, instead of it to be section 2.1, they just want it to be, instead of the word section being part of that numbering scheme, the absence of the word section. So instead of this maybe 2.1 instead of section 2.1. Yeah, so I can quickly bring in an approved numbering scheme, which I've saved off. Let's just import the general scheme here. And it will bring in that numbering scheme into the document for me to swap out on these level 2s, or I would swap out the whole scheme, but we'll just show the level 2 swap out in this instance. So I can specify that all 13 non-contiguous paragraphs should have an alternate level 2 numbering pattern, and you can see here that I've done that pretty quickly to something that, you know, I'm now in a more complex aspect of numbering based on not necessarily there's numbering problems in the document, but I'm needing to do some complex manipulation of the numbering that currently exists in the document, whether that be bringing in a numbering scheme or just optically changing the numbering scheme within the document. So that was really all we wanted to cover today from a kind of usability of the application standpoint. We'll kind of wrap up from the demonstration there and pause for questions at the end. And I'll kind of kick it back to you. Any kind of final words as we pause for a moment to capture some, to post some of the questions from a Q&A perspective.
Yeah, just to say that, this is the path that DocX Tools and DocX Tools Companion have taken so far. And of course, as we're going forward, it'll continue to evolve. So we're continuing to look and value feedback from customers, prospective clients, anyone. I was even chatting to a man on the plane on the way home the other week who turned out that he had been a lawyer, but he'd left, and one of his frustrations had been working with documents. So, we hear these things and we take them on board, and we will continue to evolve DocX Tools and DocX Tools Companion, looking at areas where different jurisdictions will have different document layouts and standards, taking those on board. So looking at how technology is evolving to continue to support the workflows of the new technologies and the cultural changes that take place. So we've got all of these ideas going forward. So we will continue to make sure that our solutions here do the best they can to help people working and to save them time and frustrations when working with documents.
All right, good deal. So what we'll do for everybody on the phone, we'll just pause for a minute. If you do have questions, as we indicated at the beginning, go ahead and use the chat window to type that question in. We will queue them up and answer them here in a moment. We'll just take about a 15-second pause. There's already some questions coming in. When we come back, we will answer those questions for you. Back in 15 seconds. And that's 15 seconds. All right, Ann, so 2 questions. If we don't get to your question, we will follow up with you directly. The first one was just, I'm a DocX Tools customer. Do I have access to DocX Tools Companion, and how do I, if I do have access to it, how do I get the application?
Yes, you do have access to DocX Tools Companion, and if you have access to our customer center, you can go onto our downloads area and you can find the applications, the install files there. If you're having difficulty finding that, then of course you can contact anyone in our support team, but your account exec or your customer success manager also will be able to assist. So any questions on those areas, how to access it, just get in touch with your chief Litera Microsystems contact and they will assist you.
Sure. Okay, all right, we have time for one more. This one I probably brought on by showing Office 365 Click to Run, but is DocX Tools Companion compatible with Office 365?
Well, nice demonstration there yourself, Matt, because you showed that Office 365 Click to Run working not quite as efficiently as maybe we would hope, bearing in mind we've got a lot of people watching, but admirably there, and running both DocX Tools and DocX Tools Companion within there. So yes.
Perfect. All right, well, that is all the time we have today for questions. Again, if we didn't get to your question, we will be following up with you directly. Both Ange and I really appreciate everybody's time, and we'll talk to you soon.
Absolutely. Thank you.